it's Bex from Positively Together, and we're doing a series of 2 Minute Tuesdays on cues and cue responses. So we've talked already about the difference between two example scenarios of holding a target out and the horse not responding, either because he's distracted or because he's figuring out the answer to the problem. In other words, he's not quite clear enough yet on what the answer is. And of course, that scenario is much more likely to happen with a more complex behaviour, so touching a target is pretty straightforward. But I still see horses testing the premise on simple behaviours like a touch target, checking whether touching the stick is clear enough, is a good enough answer, or whether it's only the ball on the end. And when our animal is testing the premise like this and checking out what is going to get clicked and what is not, that's fantastic. I really like to see that in a horse and an animal that's learning something new, because he's giving us the opportunity to be very clear and precise on, no, it's only when your nose touches the ball on the end, or no, it's only when your nose is on its way towards touching the ball on the end. It allows us the opportunity to get really precise and consistent. So there's two scenarios. Another common scenario that I see is horses giving calming signals or sort of stress signals, or it can also not be stress as such, but simply just give me a minute because I'm chewing. That's really common, particularly with more uptight horses. So we might reinforce, and then as the horse is chewing, they will very, very deliberately turn their head away. And if my horse does that, if my horse presents what I would call a calming signal like that in training, either upon presentation of the cue or perhaps after I've fed him, I would be dropping that cue away, so taking the cue away. If it's a verbal cue or a hand signal, just stopping and giving him a second. If it's a target, then putting it down beside my leg and giving that animal time to process whatever it is that's going on, giving them a bit more space, so not continuing to add pressure by holding that target out near them. But just step back, drop your energy, give them a moment, and then when they reconnect back with you, then present the target again. So that the presentation of target and the touch and the click and the feed can become smooth and clean loops. And we aren't kind of nagging at our horse by continuing to present a cue or continuing to repeat a cue when they're clearly actually just asking us for a moment. We need to give them that moment. So this is where it's decision-making time in the middle of our sessions. Do I take the cue? He hasn't responded. Shall I drop the target away, or shall I keep it up there so that he can puzzle it out? And the answer to that depends on what the horse is telling us through his body language.